if you're struggling to win people to Christ, let me first say that there are certain people that you just can't help. I'll give you those types, and then I'll give you a way to try and do this. The first group of people that you cannot help, even though if you don't succeed, you can try again. The first group that you can't help is those that don't think they need your help. You cannot help them that don't think they need the help. If they think that they're all right, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. The second type that you cannot help is those that know they need the help, but they don't want it. They are all right living the way that they do. They are all right being with somebody they have no hope and no future with. They are all right with it. They know they should break up with them, but they continue to be with them because they don't want somebody else to get them, and they don't want to be alone themselves. But again, you cannot help those that don't think they need help and those that don't think they need it and want it right then. The next group that you cannot help is those that don't want it right now. Those that know they need to do better and choose not to, you have to let them be themselves. They know better. They're choosing to do what they're doing. The next group that you cannot help is those who don't want it because it comes from you. There are some people right now that have made up their mind that no matter how much you preach, how much you teach, how good you are, how talented you are, they just don't want it from you. You can say the same thing that somebody else says, and you could have been saying it for years and for years. And when somebody else says it, it's like they're eating sweet grapes off the vine. But when you say it, it's like bitterness in their mouth. But I want you to understand, some people don't want the help because it comes from you. It's not personal. They just don't want it because it comes from you. You can't help them. The last group that you can't help is those that are not willing to do what it takes to get it. Jesus would ask the question, do you want to be made whole? And surprisingly, we don't find scriptures in there that suggest that they said no. So what Jesus would do was take the time and he would heal them. And he would say, your faith made you whole, or he would say, go and sin no more. Now, Reverend, what does that have to do with what Paul is talking about here in the book of Corinthians? Well, let me read it for you again. Starting with verse 16. He says, when I preach the gospel, I cannot boast, since I am compelled to preach. In other words, because I'm compelled, I shouldn't be bragging about a gift of God that God gave me. He says, woe to me if I do not preach the gospel. That's the big issue. I'm supposed to be doing this. So if I don't do it, woe unto me. He says, if I preach voluntarily, then I have a reward. If not voluntarily, I am simply discharging the trust committed to me. In other words, if you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. What then is my reward? Paul answers the question that he asks. He says just this, that I am preaching the gospel. I may offer it free of charge. The gospel is free. And to make full use of my rights as a preacher of the gospel. Now, we're trying to win souls in the midst of this pandemic. Paul gives us an excellent way to do this. He says, though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. What do you mean, Paul? To the Jew, I became like a Jew to win the Jews. to those who are under the law. I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law. That way, I can win those under the law. To those who have no law, I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but I am under Christ's law, so that I can win those that don't have the law. To the weak I became the weak, to win the weak. Then he sells the whole ticket. I became all things to all people, so that all possible means I might save some. He realized he wasn't going to get everybody, but if I got to be cool today to win some cool folks, and I got to be stern today to win some stern folks, and I got to be educated today to win the educated, I got to break a few verbs here and there to get those that break the verbs. I did all things to all people so that I might win them. He says, the reason I did it is for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessing. So if you're having struggles and you're trying to win some people, maybe you need to change your technique of how you're trying to win them. Some people don't need the articulation of you using words that they're not familiar with. Maybe you need to simplify it. Now, I do agree that sometimes you need to bring people up to where you are, but sometimes you need to get on the same level with some of those people. You don't go to a children's church and use giant words that they don't understand. You say words that they can understand so that they can grasp it. And then when you go into a room with a bunch of intellectuals, that is where you break out the dictionary and the thesaurus and you bring those words. But whatever the case is, do what's right and then do your best to win all people. Paul says, I did all of this to win as many to Christ as possible. Everybody's not going to get saved. But if at first you don't succeed, try again. If you couldn't get in and you were trying to make it work, try again. If you were trying to convince them and they just couldn't get it, maybe you need to change the method of what it is you're teaching. Teach the same message, but just with a different method. Try again. You've had opportunity after opportunity, and you've been trying to help them, but some folks are just not going to get it from you. Again, there are 5 types of people that you just can't help. You can't help those that don't think they need the help. You can't help those who know they need it and don't want it. You can't help those who don't want it right now. You can't help those that don't want it because it comes from you. And you can't help those who aren't willing to do what it takes to get where they're supposed to be going. But you can be a big brother or a big sister. You can be a father figure. You can be an uncle. You can be a friend. You can be a disciplinarian. But whatever it takes, do your best to help to win souls to Christ. When you read the book of Acts, Acts goes back and forth and vacillates with who Paul is. In one instance, Paul is killing and persecuting those who are believers of the way. In the next minute, he's having a Damascus Road experience, and those folks that he was killing, he was turning around and he was going to save them. In one text, they were coming after him to destroy him, and he was a Jew. And then in the next moment, he said and claimed onto his Roman citizenship. Whatever he had to do, he did those things to try and win the people. And here we are amid this pandemic. Brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you, do whatever it takes. If it takes get a little food out there and going and buying some groceries so the church can provide a viable ministry, do whatever it takes. If it takes you getting up and going into your closet because you're not going anywhere, find those clothes that have tags on them that you know you're not going to wear, that you gained some weight since, and then bring them in and try and give them away in a clothes ministry. There are plenty of things that we can do to try and win people in the midst of this coronavirus and in the midst of this pandemic. But we got to find ways to do it. We can't take it personal when they don't want it from us. If at first you don't succeed, try again. You didn't make 100 on the test? Try again. You didn't make the best cake or pie? Try again. You didn't get the best deal? Try again. Make another choice. Make another decision and see what the end will be. Eternal God, we come at this time again, thanking you for your mercy. Thank you for being the God of another chance and another chance and another chance. And as we come at this moment, I pray, oh God, that those who are struggling with failures would dust themselves off and try again. That they would use the failure as a measuring stick to know that it's not over. It just won't work this way. And they would get up and they would try again and try again and try again. They'd be like the little engine that could in the childhood story. I think I can. And then one day realize that through you, they can do all things through Christ.